tuning into a very special episode of That Nerd Dad podcast. I bring this one to you today because 1 year ago today, I received an email that I wasn't expecting. That changed the next 12 months of my life and has definitely had an impact on me going forward. It allowed me to find a passion for a hobby. It allowed me to learn, experience new things, try new things, all from the comfort of my home office. And it was an email from a guy named Dean Blundell. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with Dean Blundell, he is a very popular radio DJ. Has been, and not always popular, but a guy I always liked. He's most well known for being on the edge, where he got the term, rightly or wrongly, shock jock. But there was more to it than just being a shock jock. It was funny. It was irreverent. You could tell there was personality and truth and a brain behind the irreverence, and that to me passes that all-important authenticity test. If someone's just doing it for shock value, I'll check out. I'll lose interest. It has to be authentic. It has to be real. I don't want to be looking at a shtick. I don't want to be watching someone perform for me. I want to see human emotion. And that's what I got from Dean. He was at or near the top of the ratings his entire 15-year run or so at the edge. That falls apart, makes the jump over to sports talk radio with the Fan 590 in Toronto, and I follow him there. I listen to him there. I listen to him in the mornings on my drive in. Get to listen to him talk sports, but from kind of an edutainment angle. After a couple of years of that, he moves on again, starts his own thing, DeanBlundell.com, which is where our stories picks up here. So DeanBlundell.com becomes, I would have called it a Canadian TMZ. It's not an accurate description. It's more like a news site, but with a humorous bent. They tackle very serious topics, but not in a very serious manner. They listen to all voices, left, right, middle. And Dean speaks the truth as he sees it. I followed Dean to DeanBlundell.com. And as I was engaging in his social medias, various social media platforms, I realized his Instagram sucked. It was no good. And for whatever reason, probably the boredom of the pandemic, I sent an email to him to say, hey, I'm Joe. I currently have a very small Instagram page called That Nerd Dad. And at the time, I was really just trying to find a niche for myself with That Nerd Dad. And I said, I think I can help your Instagram page. I can probably take it from where it is to a little bit more than that. But I never claimed to be an expert. I just kind of, I think I can help. And this is something I wanted to help with. Nice little passion project for me. Cause I believe in. Maybe get to interact with someone I've looked up to and respected for a very long time. Send the email off through, I think, the comment section on DeanBlundell.com. And obviously just forget about it because I'm not even sure why I sent that email. Much to my surprise, I get an email. And I'll read it here for you. It says, dude, do you know how much I love getting comments like this? A, you're not selling CCD cream or an interview with some author who fucking loves vitamin C. B, we're always looking for guys, gals who love content, and we'd love some help on Instagram too. C, I love compliments. Thanks for reaching out. I've CC'd our president of development and growth, but let's arrange a Zoom call next week when it works for you. And you can tell us how we're fucking up Instagram and what kind of content you like, interests, etc. Does that work? Did that work? Of course it worked. I can actually remember going to tell my wife. I'm like, okay, look, I didn't even tell you, but I emailed Dean Blundell, and she was like, why? And I had to explain the whole thing to her. But after a bit of back and forth with Dean puts me in contact with a guy named Chris. Chris ends up being the kind of head producer for the whole show. Chris and I hit it off. And between Chris and Dean and a gentleman named Brent, they all kind of take me under their wing in various capacities. And it helped me learn and grow. And as a result of that, and taking over the Instagram page, that Nerd Dad podcast came from it. And this became my passion project. Right? This became the explosion on my Instagram page, the podcast, the Twitter account, the YouTube channel. It's all because I sent this email asking if I could help with, I don't want to say a cause, but with a person that I believed in, and a set of values and principles that aligned with what I was trying to get out of life, and maybe just wasn't sure how to do it myself. But I made myself available, and the universe has provided. And what I will say is, as a result of doing this, the amount of things that I've been able to learn and do and grow from in the last year has been tremendous. More so than the last several years combined. If you're looking at this on YouTube, you can see everything. If you're listening on the podcast, I've got the podcast itself. I'm sponsored by Blue microphones now. Powered by Blue. I don't sound this good without them. I use a program called VideoPad Video Editor. It's kind of a simple video editing software that I love. And I learned and taught myself how to do that as I wanted to grow and make my channel better. OBS Studio, what I'm currently recording this on. I had no idea what it was 12 months ago. Now I'm relatively proficient at it. And of course, Anchor by Spotify, where my podcast is hosted. All of this and all of this learning and knowledge has come from an email. And I know I keep stressing that, but I think I just want to talk to you and say, like, if you're thinking about doing something, do it. Just take a chance on yourself. I haven't even gone over the fact that I've actually been on the Dean Blundell show. He was nice enough to have me on. When Chris, the producer, wanted to go on vacation, I cut the promos for the show for a week. Not something I've ever done before. Got a chance to do it. A lot of fun. And this is the space I've always wanted to be in my life. I've always wanted to be a radio guy. I always wanted to be a comedian, an improviser, some sort of a entertainer. And I have found that. And I'm doing it for me, which is probably the most rewarding part. There's no guarantee I'll make this be a success. There's no guarantee of anything. But it makes me feel good. I'm very rewarded by this whole process. I'm rewarded by the trolls. The trolls entertain me. I find the whole thing just such a great experience, and I wanted to record this on kind of that 1 year anniversary, Deaniversary, if you will, that changed things. Where I went from a guy who always kind of wanted to do it to all of a sudden I was in the mix, working with a bona fide pro who is now helping me and answering my questions. So, Dean Blundell, thank you so much. Chris, thank you. Brent, thank you. David, thank you. George, thank you. And all the people I've been able to interact with as a result of this experience. Bonzi, James, Locke, Ryan, my new BFF. These people have all kind of made their way into my life through this one friggin' email. Very cool experience. So, if you're thinking about it, if you're hesitant about it, just do it. Take a chance. If Dean Blundell doesn't email me back, I'm none the wiser, and I just go about my day to day. Probably move on to some sort of other hobby. But he did. He did email me back. And it's been a wild ride and so much fun, and I can't wait to see where it goes from here. Thanks for listening. And if you're thinking about doing something, do it today.